Hello everybody, welcome back to Let's Play Hearts of Iron 4 New Order as America. Let us continue on where we last left off. So Nixon has been formally impeached by the House of Representatives. I do not know when it is going to go to a Senate vote, but it probably will not take too long. The IJN Shabano bombing. It wasn't clear how the bomber managed to acquire a uniform, nor how he managed to smuggle his bag through the security checkpoint without getting searched. But no matter how it happened, the result was still the same. A man disguised as a dock worker managed to sneak a duffel bag with a firebomb inside it onto the deck of the IJN battleship Shinano, where it exploded late last night. In what could only be described as a miraculous, no soldier dock workers were killed, but 3 Japanese sailors and an American fireman suffered serious burns during the explosion and subsequent attempts to put it out. The Japanese government is apoplectic with rage, with their ambassador describing the bombing as an all but an act of war, and presenting a long list of demands, which they have likely drafted some time ago, and were waiting for an opportunity as a reparation. Most notable are the massive increase in security around the ports, all on America's dime of course, and a televised apology from the President Nixon himself. Nixon, needless to say, refused to let things go over that poorly. He has reached out through every diplomatic back channel to get the Japanese to avoid making a public release, insisting that he can make a deal that satisfies everybody while saving face. Well, look, Nixon, he's not having a great time. Join the picket line. Unit voter. Unions will become a little bit more liberal on economic issues. We won't worry about that quite yet. Now, I don't know. I'm guessing liberal is pro-Democrat in this instance. But does that make them pro... Like, does liberal apply to the progressives in the NPP, or is that progressive and it's like a different category? Not too sure yet. Two brothers, Bobby and Jack, stood in Bobby's Senate's office. The room was quiet. Press attention... Okay, game is paused. Press attention was centered itself on the Senate chamber, where, even now, the Chief Justice of the United States was prepared for the second impeachment trial in the nation's history. Jack, please don't do this, said Bobby after a long moment. You've done nothing wrong. You have no reason to lie, especially not to protect the bastard like Nixon. Please. The Vice President stared into the pattern in Bobby's carpet. You think he'll lash out? Fine. Let him lash out. You think the Republicans will acquit him just so we can burn down the country? That's fine too. You can build something better out of the ashes. He bent at his waist, trying to catch his brother's gaze. Don't do this. Don't let him take your integrity from you. But Jack shook his head. I can't, Bobby. I just can't. I wish I could, but he trailed off. I can't risk it. There's too much at stake. Bobby cursed under his breath and kicked the trash can, which clattered across the room, spilling papers across the carpet. When he spoke again, his voice was full of bitterness and hurt. You were supposed to be better than this. Jack said nothing as Bobby stormed out towards the door and slammed it behind him. He sat there in an empty room until his brother's footsteps vanished. Then he rose and made his way towards the Capitol Senate chamber. A long and lonely walk. Are they going to get rid of Kennedy as well? God, look how weak the... they actually clean this up. Oh, excellent. What is your penalty right now? American Remnants, Army of Freedom... The trials. Vice President John F. Kennedy had none of the charismatic warmth as his Senate Sergeant-at-Arms swore him in on the Bible. He did not look at the press packed into the gallery, nor back into his eyes his brother Bobby, seated stone-faced behind him. Instead, he looked at the House Impeachment Manager, Mo Udall. Mr. President, I think it's fair to say that you've often been excluded from the decision-making process in executive office. Isn't that accurate? Said Udall. I would say that Dick and I have had our disagreements, Kennedy shrugged with a forced casualness. But I find ways to keep myself in the loop. Udall raised his eyebrow. His glass eye gleamed from his skull. Oh, and did you manage to keep yourself in the loop on the affairs of Madagascar? Vice President Kennedy did not give Udall the benefit of a pause or a break in eye contact. Yes, I did. His eyes bored into those of the impeachment manager. Dick and I both spoke to it at length. The President and his chief of staff can attest to my involvement in key decision-making. And in your involvement in key decision-making, Jack, Udall dropped his name as if it were a curse. Beneath his lawyerly presentation, there was a fury and disgust. Did you witness the President Nixon, or any of his aides, order the sale of arms or other resources to aid the Japanese military? No, Mo, I did not. The President expressed a great sympathy for the Magalese people's fight for independence, but I did not witness anything that could be construed as an order to provide aid in violation of U.S. law. If any decision was made, it occurred without the knowledge or consent of the President or myself. Udall broke Kennedy's gaze and shook his hand. No further questions from the prosecution. Okay, urban voters will support Democratic Party for 2 weeks. Labor Democrats will support the RDC by 5 more points here. We have fails in our operation to do... I think that's for the Koreans, but I'm not too sure. Okay, let's aid Korean freedom fighters. By the way, how is our... Okay, that's lower, but GDP is not really increasing where we want it to. Is there anything we can do? Stockpile 9999. We have no stockpile of rubber. But that's okay. Total trade. I mean, it's looking good. GDP per capita has been slowly decreasing, but by like $5, $10, not that big of a deal. Poverty's going down. With our nuclear arsenal, we could wipe out 49% of humanity. I mean, that seems pretty good. Fresh out the press. Is there anything we want to do here? 1% GDP growth. You reduce inflation. 6.338. Honestly, it's not that bad for the 1960s. I think fresh out the press is still fine. I think we're still kind of good. Tax hike. Temporary tax cut. I mean, do I want to do anything here? How much we're deficit of 4.68 billion. Social expenditures. What is it at right now? You know, let's increase you a little bit. Let's give you all 3 clicks. And then we're going to lower naval expenditures by a decent amount. And then we're going to drop nuclear a little bit as well. And that seems fine. Excellent. Now, I think the GDP is about the same, but we are, providing a little bit more to our civilian economy, which I think will be nice. It'll be nice for the election year. Okay, so a lot of the Filipino troops now here. If I attack, will anybody assist me? The answer still seems to be no, they hate me. Project Iceworm. Colonel John C. H. Lee, Major Bennett L. Lewis, see enclosed. Project Iceworm is an initiative to place 600 MRBMs in 4,000 kilometers of tunnels dug throughout the Greenland ice sheet, located 240 kilometers east of our Thule Air Base at 77 North, 61 West. The missiles would be periodically reshuffled between silos carved out from the sheet, creating a target not only hard to locate, but also protected by layers of ice. Today, 3,000 meters of tunnels have already been created, and attendant facilities including a small nuclear reactor and railway track. The intention of the base is to provide the United States Army with the means to achieve a first strike on Germany and resist any incoming attacks. Specialized missiles designed for operation in the coldest of polar weather are being developed by a top-secret research team out of McMurdo Station in Antarctica, with Vice Admiral William Ribborn presiding. Despite the heroic efforts of the Army Corps of Engineers, Iceworm 1 is failing. The shifting ice sheet in Greenland is causing tunnels to collapse and silos to be buried. It is becoming hazardous for the construction teams to work within the ice, and the project cannot be maintained, and it is recommended that my team that Camp Sentry to be abandoned and our resources pivoted to Iceworm 2. My team and I will begin preliminary measurements, and we depart tomorrow for Redacted. I wish I could have like a handful of people like support me on this. I think that'd be nice. We'll send you guys up north to deal with the Canadians as well. And anybody else, yeah, just go up north. It doesn't really matter where you are right now. Or at least I don't think it matters so much where you're at. Chronic conscription, economic laws, social policies. I can't really do anything with these, right? Like, I can't click these and change our policies directly, I don't believe. Yes, we will not worry about you. We'll integrate our support. We'll give us more decisions for our allies. Scott, how are things in the Senate? The Kennedy testimony has taken the wind out of the liberal sails, Mr. President, answered the nasally voice of Pennsylvania's senior senator over the phone. Lyndon has kept quiet on the whole matter, but I do not believe he has plans to let his impeachment affair come up with a full vote when the Senate comes up and back into session. Thank you, Senator. We'll stay in touch. Nixon puts down the phone, rubbing his temples. He turned to his chief of staff. Alderman, do you think we've put this demand thing behind us? I think so, Mr. President, came the reply. We'll let debate networks run with the Vice President's testimony, take the pressure off of the Senate to act. It's hard to say right now, but in a couple of weeks, it probably won't be anything more than a minor story. All thanks to Kennedy, Nixon said bitterly. That Harvard bastard. I know he's planning something. I want daily reports on what he's up to until we're sure he's not scheming with his brother to start a goddamn coup or something. Yes, Mr. President. And make sure there's no more goddamn leaks. Impeachment heads to Senate, dead on arrival. Okay, so he's not going to get removed. NKVD has overthrown the Kazakh government. Okay, then. How's Magadan doing, by the way? They seem like they're mostly just kind of chilling. And you know what? Here, I have another $15 million. I don't know when you're eventually going to start trying to expand your way out of your territory. But if you could do it sooner rather than later, that would be nice. Like, go invade the Divine Mandate. Go invade the Soviet Pacific Fleet. Go do something. I guess you're actually fighting Amur. I don't think I can send you any troops, though. And then the Philippines. Again, the Philippines, we're just chilling. I literally can't do anything. And all I can do now is support India. So we'll do that for the moment. Like, I can't attack because our Filipino allies will not actually assist us on this. Which is very, very sad for me. Again, that's for Germany. Move things towards Salazar or towards Franco. Do I care too much about who's in charge? Because right now it is tied. Because it's currently the council. Crippled sovereignty. It's currently stable. But I guess if I stabilize it, you know what? Because Iberia can theoretically join our faction. When we played as Iberia years and years and years ago, you can go and check out that series. I'd actually recommend it. It was a fun series. We did end up, I think, joining the OFN in the end. So we could stabilize them to try to get an ally, or we can try to, I'm guessing, fund one of these two to cause the country to go into chaos. Currently contested. Somewhat loyal. Let's just throw $15 more million at you. And, okay. You have no active agents at the moment. So overall, I think things are looking... I don't want to say good. Because obviously we failed 2 of our operations and we've had the impeachment. But I mean, things also could be substantially worse. Right? Like, that's also true. We could be in a way worse state of affairs. Okay, civilian factories, what do we want you to do? What about just like some infrastructure? A whole infrastructure project all across the country seems good to me. Can somebody please just end this war? Like, we have our air support, right? Yeah, we still have 100 planes. But I just, like, cannot attack you. It's just not something that I have, I mean, I guess we can escalate the war. But then we won't be able to cooperate with the people in the north. And I don't want to do that. Operation Irregular. Everyone gets more war support. If we launch an operation aimed to further our cooperation with the Hooks, this will allow us to directly aid them through military volunteers. Although this will prevent us from escalating our support towards... Yeah, we want to do this. Let's get Operation Irregular. We won't be able to support the Free Philippine Republic as much, but I think that's okay. I just want to send 1 division to you. Hey, excellent. Oh, we can send 2? Let's fucking go. Okay, so let's send 2 divisions. What's the terrain around here and around Manila? Manila is urban. And then you are plains and hills. So you know what? Let's send those 2 super heavy tanks because I think it would be funny. Okay, Dwight E. Beach. Let's send those tanks to... I can send you air volunteers as well. So you know what? Let's get that done as well. 2 divisions. Let's send over... not tactical missiles. Tactical fighters. No, I want to find 26. One of you is going to... Bomber wings. Not what I'm looking for either. Tactical fighter. There we go. We'll send one of you bad boys to this region. Close air support to the north. In a 1963 Freedom Ballot. In barbershops, churches, drugstores, and groceries, from the bustling streets of Jackson to the quiet, stricken towns of the Delta, black people in Mississippi are going to the polls. On this ballot is Aaron Henry, pharmacist and activist for governor. Ed King, a white minister who's still recovering from a traffic accident that shattered his jaw, will be his lieutenant. Every voter knows that their ballot will have no power. That's not the point. The point is to make a statement to Mississippi blacks that voting is possible and to make a statement to the world that there is currently no such thing as democracy in Mississippi. More than 80,000 people cast their vote in the 1963 Freedom Ballot, several times more than are registered to vote in the entire state. It won't end segregation or voter discrimination. White civil servants will put up their suits tomorrow and quiz prospective voters on inane things and deny them their franchise. But they'll do it with a harsh light shining on them from outside. And years from now, when names like Fionn Luhammer are in the books of history, some astute students will see this beginning, not a final triumph, but the striking of a match. So when are our volunteers going to get there? They will be there on the 13th. And hey, the Stanley Cup. Hockey is at once a display of grace and a storm of frustration. As Torontonians rub their chins in anxiety, their hometown Maple Leafs are defending the Stanley Cup champions, and they duke it out with the Detroit Red Wings. Men slide across the ice, making epic leaps and clever backhands, dueling with their sticks and displays of speed that bring to mind a shell game. One moment they swarm around each other, desperately trying to assess their other team's next move. The next, it's an epic dash across the arena. Detroit is resentful. They've only won one game out of the 5 in the finals, and the fans in their hearts know that tonight could be the end of the line. 2 nights ago, they had pelted the Leafs with paper cups and programs. After the game, the air tastes bitter. In the second period, Maple Leaf center Dave Keon manages to swing across the blue line and around Alex Devenko, giving Toronto its first goal of the night. Not long after, though, Marshall Providence scores for Detroit. But it was several minutes ago, Toronto winger Eddie Shack, a foul-at-the-mouth born entrepreneur with a penchant for sparkling balls on the ice, manages to break the ties with a deflection shot, giving the Maple Leafs their second straight Stanley Cup. With a careful swish across the ice and into the net, the crowd leaps from their seats. The Maple Leafs have won. Toronto has won. Canada has won. He shoots, he scores. Let's fucking go, boys. Fuck you, Detroit. Now, I'm not really a big hockey person. Like at all. Where are my planes? Are they here yet? Hey, now they are. Operation's been successful. Brazil, okay, excellent. And a little roll call. Mr. Bartlett, guilty. Mr. Bartlett, not guilty. Mr. Bible, not guilty. A.H.R. Haldeman listened to the roll call vote blasted through the Oval Office television. But that was a good sign. He'd been wavering. No doubt afraid about Kennedy's brat being caught in the crossfire, the president slurred, gripping his glass of whiskey tight. This little bastard, he'll pay soon enough. The broadcast went on. Mr. Keating, not guilty. Mr. Kennedy, there was a pause. Mr. Kennedy? Choke on it, Nixon spat. He leaned forward towards the television, spilling his drink onto the floor. Haldeman's eyes of the president warily. Choke on it and die, you fucking cocksucker. Mr. Kennedy, not guilty. Mr. Lafont, guilty. Mr. McGovern, guilty. The president made a rude remark, but Haldeman was barely listening. Based on the vote so far, the president would avoid the 2/3 needed for removal. Even better, there was a good chance that they saved the president from receiving majority of any charge. You already see it stay together, if only barely. Bastards, a lot of them, muttered Nixon. Haldeman pursed his lips. Impeachment would lose the president's support, yes, but they could still pull 1964 off. They could paint the opposition as pet radicals of Eastern liberalism, the darlings of New York Times persecuting the president on a silent majority. All they needed was to avoid a further scandal. All they needed was for the president to pull himself together. As Nixon raged at his desk, Haldeman made a note to keep the president away from the cameras. Okay, so our units are going to be there in just a few days. Now, with 200 aircraft in the sky, we basically have doubled our air power in the region, which is great for us. And will the super heavy tanks do anything whatsoever? I don't know, but by golly, we've got to try. So bring our tanks forward. What else can we do for our foreign policy? Let's send in the Flying Tigers to kind of reduce Japanese air superiority. Why are none of you in the air? Why do I have 0% air superiority here? Takeoff, landing. Okay, don't do anything for a second. I mean, it says 200%. Hitler is dead. Adolf Hitler is dead. The being who claimed to secure homage to virtually a living god has proven to be immortal with his lowest subject. He now belongs to history. Church bells could be heard across the Reich as news broke. Adolf Hitler, supreme leader of the Third Reich, passed away at the age of 73 in his Burghoff residence in Bavaria. Previous CIA reports indicated his health has been failing in recent years, but the cries of the past years have seem to have done him in for good. In America and much of the rest of the world, the mood is a stark contrast to that of Germany. Spontaneous celebrations have broken out in Washington, in New York, in the South, in the West, all across the country. Even in occupied ports in Los Angeles and San Francisco, American workers and Japanese soldiers agree that Hitler's death is something worth celebrating. Publicly, President Nixon has not commented, but privately, he is reported as elated. However, it does appear that Hitler was the sole figure holding the crumbling rag together. The NSA has already intercepted numerous communications from within Germany, indicating a conflict is imminent. But I will say now, with the death of Hitler, this is going to be a good time for us to end this episode. So if you've enjoyed, thumbs up. Not doing it, thumbs down. You want to see more, subscribe, and goodbye.